Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you had a green morning so far, and I hope everything has gone in your direction, whether it was short or long. I had some red and some green trades this morning, so I'm going to go over each of those and show you where my entries were and what I was expecting out of the trade. I traded a few larger stocks this morning like Moderna and also BABA, which both had some decent volume. I also traded NIO, which had my best trades of the day. Right now we are looking at certain stocks that have catalysts, obviously some bios with Pfizer and, like I mentioned, Moderna. NIO seems to always be on the list just depending on how the morning volume is, and BABA, obviously the Chinese sector in general is making a bounce right now from the big sell-off. So I tried to take advantage of BABA. Honestly, I didn't make the right entry that I wanted and I got stopped out. So that was probably my worst trade of the day, but I also had some that made up for it. So stick around. I'm going to go through my entries and give you a little rundown of what happened, and hopefully you can learn something and leave your feedback. Thank you very much. Happy trading. Hey guys, I want to start out with Moderna and show you a little bit of what was going on there today. It is moving down from what we had happen yesterday. There was actually a really nice move up yesterday. I'll scroll out a little bit here and we can see that it ran up, and I'm just going to roll it back. You can see intraday it moved up even at 12 o'clock, which normally means that it's going to either keep going or just stall out for the rest of the day, which is what you can see happen. But at the beginning of the day, we actually had a lot of movement up and down right at the beginning on the VWAP. So it reached a fairly high point, 417 after hours, and then we came in a pre-market this morning and it had gapped up a lot from where we closed yesterday. Now I'm going to scroll back in over here to the side to see what we traded this morning. Here was the bell, and as you can see, it sold off immediately. This was a really big dump. I didn't get in at the very beginning. To be honest with you, Moderna kind of scares me just due to the price, so I kind of like to let it shake itself out before I go in on an entry. So as you can see here, this is where I actually did take an entry. I went long here for an ABCD pattern setup. I had this 484 level set, and that was from a daily level. It actually didn't have anything to do with this minute, but it was coming across from a different day. I did go to try to go long as a bounce off of this VWAP, as you can see right here, and unfortunately I got stopped out. So I am not afraid to take my stops. Let me grab my pointer here. I'm sure you can see my arrow, but right here was my entry. It was right at 400, so I was hoping for a burst over 400 and then a rip on higher. It did move a little higher and it hit this level, which was 482. I was kind of looking for it to move on up and just continue above the VWAP. Unfortunately, it did not do that. So as you can see, I stopped out at VWAP. Again, this is a larger size stock, so I'm not going to hold for very long because look at this level. This is in one bar. We went from 399.77 and it dumped all the way down. It was $2 dump, so I'm not going to hold into that. That was my stop out on Moderna, and then as we can see, actually, yeah, I was looking for I knew I had another entry, and it looks like my other entry was before that. Actually went the other way. I was looking for a bounce off of this EMA, which as you can see up here is my non-EMA. It did not bounce off of it. It did dip a little bit, but instead of continuing downward, looks like it found a level that everybody was content with, which was right around the 28-cent level, and then it just went up. And once it went up again, I'm out of this. That was my stop range right there, which was the top of this candle. I'm not going to give it a lot of room to play. So that was my two plays on Moderna. Again, I had a few small losses on it, but I always keep my losses tight on this stock. I will say this. This is a stock where if you swing at the right time, you could absolutely hit a home run. If you would have swung on the second minute candle, as soon as it lost VWAP, you could have easily just set a break-even level. You see here it lost the S4 on the Camarilla pivot, you could have taken a short there and just let it sit there all day long. That's not really how I trade, so obviously you see I didn't do that. I'm trying to get in and out of trades as soon as possible. But, you know, again, I had to try because of the volume. It didn't work out, so that's where we are on that. Alright guys, next up on the docket is BABA. BABA had a really nice bounce today. If you're looking at the chart, you can see from previous levels that this bad boy was not looking good for the past few days. And also a lot of China stocks have been getting beat down, which we kind of want to take advantage of when we can and catch it off a bounce, which is what we were trying to do this morning. We had a lot of volume coming on BABA this morning. As you can see, for the past few days, it had just completely gotten destroyed, and even yesterday it bounced up a little bit, but it just got utterly destroyed. So what we were looking for today, other than volume, the pre-market volume was really good for this stock, and I was kind of hoping to see it move on up, but you're going to see one of my worst trades, if not my worst trade of the day, and I'll give you kind of an idea of what I was seeing when I took that trade and the reason I took that trade. And right here it is. As you can see, I went short here and I got stopped out by this engulfing green candle. And honestly, I'm really not happy with this trade. The only catalyst that I used to take this trade was the loss of R4. And I'll give a little bit more explanation of the Camarilla pivot points in another video, but it's one of the lines I used to see a large breakout. And as you can see, if I would have used this line as an entry for resistance, which is really what it is instead of a loss, then it would have been a beautiful entry, and then I could have taken this up through here. But unfortunately, I made the wrong decision, which absolutely happens. I took the short here, hoping it would maybe bounce up to the R4 and then continue down. But unfortunately, BABA recovered and spit in my face. So I stopped out up here around 0.02, and yeah, that was definitely my biggest loss of the day. Thankfully, I was able to recover from that loss, but that was definitely a big punch in the face. That was my first trade, and I had to collect myself, understood why I took the trade, and go back and analyze. And really, this is what these videos are for, is to analyze and kind of see why things happen. So my second trade was over here, and this was an actual short on BABA that worked. Here at the beginning, you can see the volume started trailing off, and it got really low from the open. So I knew that the bulls were trying to push this higher, which eventually it did, but right here you can see it was just creating tops, and it was sell off. Push back up, sell off. Push back up, sell off, and then here we had a huge candle. I thought about taking this long at the VWAP, but I wanted to see what it would do. Once I got up to this level and it crossed it, I saw that it couldn't push higher. I went ahead and I took a short, and this was my short level right here at 170.66. I'll scroll in a little bit so you can see my arrow. And when it lost, honestly, I didn't have to have a break even or anything. This thing really lost big. And it moved all the way down to 91 cents, which was a really nice winner. What I was hoping for was for it to move all the way down to this previous level of 169.53. Unfortunately, it didn't do that. It bounced off the VWAP right here. I was confident I had already taken my partial here, and I went ahead and I moved my stop loss down to the 9 EMA. I'm like, okay, if it's going to come back this high, which would have been half of this red candle right here, then I'm just going to go ahead and take the rest of my profits, which is what I did. And thank goodness I did, because once it ripped over 170, it basically did not come back down. This sucker just kept moving up, and as you can see, this is why you never say, okay, it's going to keep moving, let me just hold this stock. It did not go back down. It kept moving, and it just kept moving. It ran all the way to 174, so that wasn't going to happen. A good profit take right here, but again, that really didn't make up for this loss. This was a bad entry, and I'm going to have to learn from this one, and also maybe just give a little bit more time to shake out. I traded before my normal 9:35 time frame, so I'll just have to learn from that one. Next, we'll move on to the next stock, and we'll have a look at PFE. Alright, we are moving on to Pfizer, PFE. Everybody on the planet knows what Pfizer is right now. If not, then maybe you live on an island that I wish I lived on, because I wouldn't know about COVID-19. Pfizer went down, and I was not expecting that. I was actually expecting it to continue to move up. Been keeping an eye on that, as well as BNTX and Moderna. And at the open, as you can see, Pfizer, it just lost. Once it lost VWAP, we were going fairly horizontal all morning, and then it lost. Honestly, I wish I would have been watching this stock instead of the other one. That way I wouldn't have taken such a terrible entry. But at any rate, it completely lost support at S3, and it bounced around S4 a little bit. When I saw it was at this level, that's when I flipped over. I had it on one of my watch windows, so I jumped over here. I didn't get the entry that I wanted, which would have been right at this S4 level, which is right around in here. But what I did do is I took a short right at this level, which was a loss of low of day. I saw this 4 candle bottom right here, and I absolutely had to take an entry. It was just too beautiful of a setup. There's no way that we're going to get 5 bounces off of that level, especially when the volume is so low on this candle right here. So I went ahead and took a short here. As you can see, it tried to push up just a small amount. And also, what I want you to take a look at is this was right at $49. So we had a bounce of $49, and also we had this key level, which is around this general area here. Again, a better level would have been around this support, but this was when I was able to get in, and I was fairly confident that if the stock could hold below 49, that I was going to get a really big rip downwards, and that's exactly what happened. So I got a nice move for about 13 cents where I took my first partial, and then I took another partial around 81 cents. I was hoping that it was going to form an upside down ABCD and just go ahead and then move back down. But once I saw this green volume come in here and here, I went ahead and took the rest of my profits out, and that was again around 85. So it wasn't a huge winner. Again, it was around a 15 cent at my maximum, maybe an average of 14-cent winner, but it was a good entry. I was fairly happy with it just because it had all the catalysts that I needed to see, the loss of low of day, and just the low volume altogether. One thing to note is I was watching Moderna and Pfizer at the exact same time to try to get an idea. If you go back and compare the two charts, they were moving almost identically when they would move up and down. So I was fairly confident with this trade. Really, the only thing that I could have done better is get a better entry here, which again, I would have had to been watching this and ready to get the entry. So, you know, anything up here might have been chasing, but I felt a lot more comfortable taking the short once it had lost this key level. Okie doke, on to NIO, my favorite trade of the day. Alright everybody, it is time to move on to my best trades of the day on one of my favorite stocks to trade, which is NIO. If you're unaware of what NIO is, they're an EV company out of China. So the thing with this stock is they can be traded fairly easily because, as you can see from this daily, there's a lot of moving up and moving down that comes in the daily candles with this stock. Every once in a while you'll have a small volume here and you see that it doesn't move a lot, maybe a couple dollars, but every once in a while this stock will just move an insane amount in one day and give a lot of opportunities. Over the past few days this has gotten beat down, so what I did today is I watched the volume, and I believe in pre-market volume it was around 500,000 or so. So I just wanted to keep my eye on it. It wasn't at the top of my watch list, but once it started moving I was fairly happy with it. And also it is in China, so I was kind of hoping they would rebound with the China stocks as well. So let's have a look at the entries and show you what happened there. I will switch over to the 1 minute chart, and we will scroll back. As you can see, we're here at 12:45 right now, so NIO's kind of taking a little dive. But here at the open is where normally my best trades from NIO come. So I'm going to scroll in here. Sorry about that. Get a little closer, that way you can see my entry levels. And let's get around, let's say right there, it'll be perfect. All right, so my first entry here, one of the, actually the only play I like to make on NIO is the VWAP breaks, and that is normally between 9:35 and 10 o'clock in the morning. As you can see here, when NIO breaks VWAP, it breaks VWAP. It doesn't play around, and this is exactly what happened here. You could have easily taken a VWAP loss right here at the beginning and had a good entry. Unfortunately, I was watching Baba and getting my face pushed in by Baba, or I would have taken this. But you know, after that trade, I came over here, I saw NIO, and I said, hey, look, NIO is making this move back to VWAP. And absolutely, I took advantage of this. Waited for this candle to shake out, and then right at the very end, it got up here to the VWAP, and I went ahead and took my long. I'm always going to let this shake out. I'm not going to get scared of these dip candles. One of the things that I've learned is dip candles around this, where you see this bottom wick, those are normal. Because they're trying to shake these people out. They want everyone that took a long to get scared and stop out. I'm not going to do that. You're going to have to close for me to stop. So I hung in there, and as you can see, we had so many, oh, sorry about that. We had so many levels here that I felt comfortable once we broke through this 200, the 9, the 20. We had the 50 here. The VWAP obviously was right here in this level. So once it went up, it ripped right up to R2 on the Camarilla point. This is where I took my first profit. As you can see, I quartered out here, and then I took another profit right here. Let it shake out, and I had my break even probably right around the 50. I normally keep my break even right in the middle of the next candle from where I took my entry. And the third candle after my entry, this bad boy ripped all the way up to R3, which was a huge move for my entry. I love this move. That was absolutely one of my best moves today, and again, it's NIO. That's how it moves. So I took another partial here, and a partial right here, and this, when it came back down to R2, that is where I went ahead and said, okay, I'm just going to take all my profits. I'm going to be happy with this trade, considering that this was the trade after Baba. So this kind of pulled me out of the dirt and made me feel a little bit better on the day. So as you can see here, it did bounce up and made a small ABCD pattern attempt. And I know a lot of folks playing ABCD may have took an entry here and looked for a move over R3, which did happen. Unfortunately, NIO could not hold R3, and once it lost it, as you can see, it completely gave back all those profits. So I did not go in on that move, but where I did go in is once it lost VWAP. You can see these candles. These are shooting star candles. We got just so much red, and so much red down here on the volume. As you can see, it just looked like it was getting beat down. And again, I'm very confident when it comes to VWAP trades on NIO, and it was definitely in my time frame for my trade book. So I went ahead and went short, and I just partialed my way all the way down. Partialed at the 50. I partialed here around R1, and as you can see, I partialed twice at R1 actually. And then my last exit was here around $39. So it was just a few cents less than 39. So when I'm around whole dollars, I like to go ahead and get out, just because it's possible there could be a bounce. If I've already had this big of a winner on one trade, a 25-cent winner, I'm going to go ahead and take those profits, just because I know that that's going to pull me up. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I look forward to putting a lot more of these together for you. Take care and stay green.